Oh, hey, this is Warren Redlick. I am here with Michael on one side and Matt Patella on the other side. Michael went to high school with my daughter. They were in musical theater together. Michael has a fantastic voice and a great stage presence. And through one of the things I learned as a parent is through your children, you meet other people. So I met Matt through Michael, and we developed a friendship, played golf together, and had some good conversations. And I've been in Asia for a while. I'm loosely in touch with everybody, and all of a sudden they have a coffee company. Like, what is this? You have a coffee company. So let me just start with this. Why? Why do you have a coffee company?
Yeah, great question. Kind of out of left field, some think, but it really started out of a couple things. One, a passion for coffee. I like how it tastes. I like how it makes me feel. I like how it, pushes me to get through my day. So that was one. And two, I felt there was a lack in the market for brands that speak to the younger generation entering the workforce, that they're not going to relate to things that college kids relate to, but they're also not going to relate to people who are, a little bit older. And as someone who just joined corporate America 2 years ago, I really wanted a brand that spoke to me and spoke to my peers that could motivate us to do better and do great things. And that's how Corporate Menace Coffee Co. was born. It's not a brand that takes itself too seriously, but it's also a brand that rewards hard work. And if you drink Corporate Menace Coffee Co., you're in the right company and you're set up for success.
As I say, going backwards, Corporate Menace actually started with a song playlist.
Yeah.
So, Michael, why don't you give them the whole history of Corporate Menace and how it started?
Yeah, well, so good point. So it started the name we got, I guess, is a good point. We got it because I was going into a meeting, and it was a big meeting, and I was really nervous, and I wanted a pump up playlist, and I randomly thought, like, what should I name this? And I was Corporate Menace, because I'm going to go into this meeting. I'm going to be a corporate menace. I'm going to destroy the meeting. I'm going to do a great job. I'm going to excel, and I'm going to win the deal. And so I put a bunch of songs, and we actually have it linked in our bio, but we have a bunch of songs that you can go out and kind of feel this spirit.
So let me take a step back here from the company and just as a coffee thing. I've never was much of a coffee drinker. I have become something of a coffee drinker because I go to the gym a lot, and you're supposed to, and a lot of people say you should have some caffeine before your workout. So, okay, started drinking coffee. And also coffee's kind of a little bit more of, maybe it's not more of a thing in Thailand, but I got into the Thai culture a little bit. And at the moment, please forgive me, I'm a pod coffee drinker. I'm a Nescafe Dolce Gusto, but I'm not really thrilled with the pod coffee life, and I've been thinking about stepping up. So can you break down, Corporate Menace is not a pod coffee, right? So is this a ground coffee? How does this work for somebody who's not even a coffee drinker?
Sure, great question. So we do have pods for those who want to venture off and are Nestle drinkers, and they say I don't want to get involved with making a coffee more than it takes to put a pod in a machine. So we have a couple flavors that we offer as pods, but to elevate the taste and to really elevate the drinking experience, we do mostly sell ground coffee and whole bean coffee. We wanted to not limit anyone from buying our coffee because of how they'd like to take it. So it's ground whole bean, and we have sizes from 12 ounces, which is the standard size of a coffee bag, and we go all the way up to 5 pound, which you'd be surprised. A lot of people are buying the 5 pound bag. I thought I was a coffee drinker. Apparently, I'm not as much a coffee drinker as some people who are buying 5 pound bags on a monthly rotation at this point. So
I've got friends who drink like 6 or more cups a day. So
they send them our way. There you go.
no, if it's what you want, well, they're going to see this probably. So so then the thing that grabs me there, so the as a novice coffee drinker, I drink pod coffee. I drink coffee from a Starbucks, or I don't really go to Starbucks as much, but similar places. And I don't understand yet. Like this, it's almost like being a wine connoisseur. You can get oak leaf from Walmart, but there's better wines, right? And there's something about the ground coffee or the whole bean that makes it better. Can you explain what that is?
Sure. So it goes back to the coffee beans themselves and the process of roasting the coffee. So there's something called the Specialty Coffee Association, and they're just like any other association that kind of goes out and rates coffee. And so our coffee is rated by this association, and it is considered to be specialty grade. And what that means is it's rated on a scale. It's all on a scale of 1 to 100, and our coffee is rated 90 points and above. And it goes down to rate to roast, aroma, taste profile, a bunch of different things. There's a whole laundry list of it. But that's what really makes the experience. And that's what really makes Corporate Menace not only just a brand, but also a luxury coffee in the marketplace.
But
And
when
that's
you
what's
just,
the difference.
but when you just use a pod, you're missing some of the benefit of the high grade coffee for some reason, and that's something I don't understand. But
Because when you use,
well, let me ask it
yeah,
this way. I can go to the store and I can buy garlic powder, or I can buy garlic that was already peeled and refrigerated, or I can buy fresh garlic. And
right.
I can, grind my own pepper from a pepper grinder, or I could just take like black pepper. So is it something along the lines of like real garlic versus garlic powder?
Even more so, Warren, because our coffee is roasted to order. So it's not roasted and sitting in a bin. So even if you've gone to like a Whole Foods or something, they have those big bins. Who knows when that coffee was roasted? When you place the order is when our roasters start to roast the coffee for you. So, and then it usually ships within 5 days, Michael.
Not to Thailand, unfortunately.
Okay.
It'll take a little bit longer to Thailand, but yes, it takes usually 1 to 3 days for the coffee to be roasted, and about an additional 1 to 3 days. So no longer than 2 weeks is when people usually get their coffee. So we want to get it fresh and as quick as possible, so you don't lose any of that taste profile.
Okay, so that's cool. So now, something you said at the very beginning, Michael, strikes me as someone who has started a few businesses and who thinks way too much about starting businesses and doesn't follow through as much. I don't follow through as much as I should. You saw a need. This is something, and you saw something that I think most people don't get. You don't just start a business because you feel like starting a business. At least to me, that's not necessarily the right path to success. There was something you saw like, hey, there's something missing here, and I can fill that gap. So can you talk more about that process of discovering, hey, this is needed and I can do that?
Yeah. So it goes back to just being somebody who just left college and entered corporate America, and just seeing the differences in lifestyle that are required working for a Fortune 100 company versus going to class maybe twice a week. And it was not only just a maturity thing, but I think it's also a fun thing. I mean, there's a lot more excitement than people make it out to seem. College, you're all excited. People talk about, I wish I could go back to college. No one talks about how fun and exciting these few years are when you exit and you really join corporate America. You have adult money now, is what people say. You're kind of making your own destiny, and you can go out and pretty much do whatever you want to do if you put your mind to it and have that motivated mentality. And I think of coffee when I think of fueling my day and when I think of getting through my day. I was drinking probably 2 or 3 cups, and I'm still drinking 2 or 3 cups. But I didn't notice any, from our competitors and bigger coffee brands who we're not necessarily competing with, but um, I didn't really resonate with them. There was no, hey, you're young, hey, you're in corporate, hey, you're trying to do your best, you're trying to succeed. No one spoke to that. It was like, okay, in the morning, wake up and drink this, or there was no real brand to associate with behind what I was drinking, and it didn't excite me enough. And so that's where I noticed the gap in the market. How we decided we could do it, it was like a year process of, is this even going to work? Like all good things, it started as in passing, like you said. You think about starting businesses a lot. I do too. Most of them kind of fade away. Some of them I act on. This one I've acted a lot on. We've gotten pretty far. Usually they die down by now, but I really believe in this one, and I think a lot of people my age and beyond, truthfully, whether you're trying to attain the corporate menace lifestyle and work towards your goal, or trying to relive the good old days when you were doing it, I think the brand really resonates there.
So going back even a little bit further, Warren, from the playlist to what ultimately happened. So from there, Michael actually started doing coffee reviews. So he had a group of friends that were on sort of a chat app, and he was just reviewing different kinds of coffee. So he was going to the store, buying coffee, reviewing coffee, and then I just jumped in for fun, and I said, okay, I'm going to do coffee reviews too, to all of his friends.
Had to one
so,
up them.
So now we're doing daily coffee reviews, and now we're starting to go everything from Cuban coffee to Americano to cappuccino to espresso. We're doing all these great reviews, and all his friends really liked it. So we said, hey, as a joke, let's actually get his friends coffee. So we went to Whole Foods, and we got bags of coffee and we put a little label on them. We sent it out to his friends, and it really resonated with them. And that was the beginning of the brand, which was, hey, wait a minute, even before we had the roaster and the specialty grade, it started with sort of that brand, which is that corporate menace, speaking to the newer generation of workers out there. Not your Starbucks, not your Dunkin', but something that is fueled by passion, people who are up and comers, people who want to succeed, who want to crush the meetings, who want to crush the lifestyle. That's really what corporate menace is about.
Okay, now just to be clear, old retired guys can drink the coffee, right?
Well, I'm here, Warren, and my hair is white, so I guess I qualify.
We're allowed. I'm just making sure. So how
Yes.
do you, this is something I don't claim to understand. I don't really understand branding. I'm aware that it exists. I'm aware that brands are important. And I think in general, you want to connect your brand to something in the product, in the service, in what you're doing. So how do you see the brand Corporate Menace connecting to the actual coffees that you deliver?
Sure. One, I think we have a couple fun taglines, right? Which is not the entire connection, but I think it gives an idea of how we kind of connect the two. One, I mean, the generic kind of fuel your day. I won't say we have that trademarked or anything. People say it, but sip happens, make it bold, right? We're kind of getting into the more satirical, more sarcastic tone of the brand. But the idea, again, it goes to what are you doing when you're on your way to work? You're drinking coffee. What are you doing at 3 o'clock when the slump hits and your inbox is flooding and you don't know what to do and you're kind of getting stressed out? Well, I'm going to go take a little coffee break. And that's kind of where we connect the two brands. It's okay, coffee and corporate America, they go hand in hand. They have for a while. We're not inventing something new there. What we're reigniting, though, is the passion behind coffee, where it's not just a mundane quick sip, quick drink, quick run to the coffee break room. This is something you're looking forward to and you're excited about.
Also,
Okay.
Warren, in addition to your, obviously your French vanilla and your hazelnut and certainly decaf, Corporate Menace also has extra caffeinated blends. So if you think about kind of fueling your day, as Michael said before, speaking to someone who's grinding, who's getting through their day, who's crushing the meetings, we have a couple of coffee. Not flavors, but coffee blends that are extra caffeinated for that hustle, right? The person who wants to go crush it, the person who needs that extra jolt of decaf. You mentioned in the beginning, prior to going to the gym. Well, a lot of times I may have one of those prior to going into a meeting. You're just ready to be energized and ready to get going, and that's part of what we're looking to do as well.
mean, I definitely think the extra caffeine thing is something that might work with gym bros. Like, I'm not going to describe myself as a gym bro, but I'm at the gym like 4 or 5. I'm going to the gym after this. I go to the gym like 4 or 5. It's 7:20 a.m. here in Thailand. I'm going to be going to the gym soon, and I like to, I do find it makes a difference to have some caffeine in me when I hit the gym. I want to go to the business side of this now. So you both have jobs, right?
Yeah.
That means you have a window of time you have available. You have family. I know Matt has a wife. I think it's grown now, right? I think maybe the younger one just is at the end of high school, maybe, but they don't demand as much of your time as when they're 3. But how do you find the time to do what you need to do for the business? Let's just start with that with the time. How do you find the time to do it?
Yeah, I mean, kind of similar to now. It's 7 a.m. there. It's 8 o'clock at night here. It's late nights. It's weekends. But it's really, again, it's fueled by passion. So it doesn't really feel like you're working. And it's a hobby for me. It's a passion. So I work. It's not as 9 to 5 as a schedule sometimes, but whenever I'm not working on my full-time day job, I'm usually on my personal computer or out at events or trying to just build up our brand.
We also have another partner, Nathan Wilson, who's a friend of Michael's, who's also partners with us. And we sort of kind of divide and conquer, Warren. So, Michael's taken the Instagram and the TikTok, and I've taken the Facebook. So we've really been able to kind of do that divide and conquer. And then again, it's a lot of weekends and it's easy now. Michael and I live together, so it becomes pretty easy. And then looping in Nathan, I think it really is, Warren, back to the passion, right? If you're passionate, and you said you've started businesses before, if you're passionate, you're willing to put in those hours. So when 5 o'clock, 5:30 comes and the day job is done, we'll think nothing of putting in 2, 3 hours at night to try to spark the business.
What is involved in starting a coffee business? I mean, it's
So much.
A lot of mistakes along the way, Warren.
oh
I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah,
Michael.
of course.
Yeah.
You don't learn if you don't make mistakes.
It's very true. So, I mean, the first step, besides incorporating and all the legal documents that the U.S. requires, it was really about finding the right partners along the way. I had somebody during another random business venture I had a couple years ago who said, the people who succeed the most are the ones who find the people who help them succeed the most, which is really just stop trying to do everything. If you do what you're good at and then find people who are good at the things you're not good at, you'll do better. And that really started with finding a roaster who had the knowledge, had the experience, and had the capabilities that we required. So we looked for a while. There were a couple out in the market that had the resources that we required. But we found one out in California, and they do a fantastic job. They've been doing it for 20 years, and they have all the knowledge that really helped educate us at the beginning. Because I was not really a coffee expert when I started this. I still don't even claim to be a coffee expert, but I definitely know a lot more now because of the resources and the information knowledge that our partner was able to help us with. So that was step number one. Then step two is web design. I mean, we're an e-commerce brand. We don't sell in store yet. We're strictly online. So it's finding somebody who can do the website for us. I've made a Wix site or two in my past, but hosting it on Shopify is a totally different beast. So there was a couple months of development of the website, and really the branding, I think, is the most important part. That probably took the longest. Not only just the logos or the label designs, but actually writing down. We have a 50-page almost on Google Docs of just our business plan and our ideas, our marketing ideas. And it goes very nitty gritty and gets into the little minutia of every aspect of what we want this brand to be, not only right now for launch, but we have plans over the next 3 to 5 years to really take it from just a coffee company to being a much bigger organization, just built on the brand of, fueling young professionals and, overachievers, overcaffeinated, right?
Right.
And when we think about sort of the web design and the marketing strategy and our branding, Warren, we went through so many iterations before launch. I mean, you think about people and say, oh, you're starting a business. Oh, what did it take you? A month or two, et cetera. I mean, as Michael said, it took about a year. And a lot of that was developing to ensure that we were really on brand and on point with what we wanted to be. So this way, every piece of collateral that you see out there, every Instagram post, every Facebook post, and if you start to take a look at it, you'll see that it's all thoughtful. We're not just throwing a Facebook post out. We're not just throwing an Instagram post out. It all follows sort of our branding and our branding style, Warren. Everything from, kind of the black and white 1960s imagery to the fonts that we use to the corporate Menace logo in the corner. All of that was really, as Michael said, thoughtful, written down. And boy, I'll tell you, before we got there, we went to some crazy, crazy places with the branding, and we did everything from pop art to modern art.
Yeah, there was a lot.
No anime yet? No anime?
No,
not yet. We got close, but no, not yet.
I made an anime image this morning through AI, of course. So I have these T-shirts. These, I don't think I sell this one anymore, but part of my YouTubing is there's this setup where you can sell T-shirts, and what I see is like okay, look, I didn't sew this, or I didn't make the fabric, I didn't print it. There's something called print on demand. So you like identify the design. I did the design, and then I promote my shirts on my channel or whatever. I haven't really been pushing the shirts as much anymore. But for me, it's like, okay, so there's a service provider that provides this service. It's a print on demand service. It's very common with YouTubers that they're selling T-shirts. And I think some of them establish a brand that goes along with their channel. You're doing something different, right? It's not like there's a corporate menace podcast, which maybe you should think about.
Coming to a place near you.
But if you did a Corporate Menace podcast and then you're selling Corporate Menace merchandise and Corporate Menace coffee, it all makes sense. Um, can you tell me a little bit about the supply chain? That's a lot of my viewers are Tesla fans, and we're very obsessed with the supply chain for making cars, right? There's a whole bunch of things that go into it. You don't have a coffee tree, and I don't even know I assume that coffee beans grow on trees, but maybe that's wrong. I don't think there's a tree in your backyard. How do you identify, like you said you were looking for a roaster, like, so there's a group of roasters out there that do this? How does that work?
Sure. Yeah, it's a niche market for sure. I mean, it wasn't like we were going shopping for, t-shirts or for, hats. It was who can roast our coffee, who can package our coffee, and who can align with our branding to get it to our customers. Uh, where's the coffee come from? All over. And I know that's like a kind of cop out answer, but it is really true. I mean, we have our roaster as farms and partnerships around the globe, in many different countries, and it's all ethically traded. That way, and what they say about that is like, what does ethically traded mean? Well, there's different laws and different governing properties in these countries, so it's whatever makes sense for the country. Where if it's right by Costa Rica, it's right by us, and it makes sense to do the trade. And so the coffee goes from the farms, it goes to our roaster, and then they work with us, and it connects. We've connected our sites and we've connected our communication. So when a customer goes on and orders, say, Hostile Takeover, our extra caffeinated blend, it'll then go into their system, and then they're roasted in small batches, which means no more than 15 kilos of coffee. And that it goes into the roasting, the mechanism. And within a couple days, if not the next day, it's shipped out to our customers.
And I understand that there's beans coming from all over the world, and there's actually Thai coffee. The comical thing is that Thai people think that foreign coffee is better than Thai coffee, and I think Thai coffee is better than foreign coffee. But um, so how do you choose the blend? Is it one of these things where you are aware of a whole bunch of beans, and then they make a sample for you, and you try it, and that's it, and you go through a process? Can you describe the process of creating the blends?
Yeah, so again, it goes back to our roaster having just such immense knowledge over the 20 years they've been doing this. So they have worked out where to source their beans from. And then they basically keep a list and a roster of all the beans available from all around the globe. And we're able to then go on as partners of them and pick out, okay, well, this came from Costa Rica. This came from Peru. This came in, and we kind of go through the line, and it gives tasting notes as well. Like this came from Bali. It's a dark roast. It has a little bit of brown sugar, and it's a very sweet blend. And that's our Sunday Scaries blend. Truthfully, my favorite, and it's also very popular. But and what we do then is we went through about 3 months, maybe 2 months of tasting, kind of ordering this, being like, well, that's not really our taste profile. That's not really what we're going for. And then having others taste as well, because what I like might not be what you like, Warren, or what my dad likes. So it was really just trial and error, going back to it, like, here's what we like, here's what makes the most sense, and then we just aligned it with our branding and made sure that it all made sense together.
Yeah, and if you think about the branding, Warren, so Sweet Success is sort of our vanilla roast. So we try to align the roast and the flavor profiles that we were tasting along with the actual branding of what you're getting. So this way, it all kind of ties together. It all makes sense. So you're ordering that, you're like, oh, Sweet Success. Well, vanilla is kind of sweet, and you get that sweetness when you taste it, when you open it up, when you could smell it. Actually, the bags come with sort of a little opening where you can actually smell the coffee before you even actually open the bag, which is a pretty neat concept.
You're in the early stage. Can you give me a wild guess? How many orders have you had? Well, actually, let's take a step back. When did you start actually shipping coffee? We're in April, late April right now.
Not too long ago, Warren.
Let's see, what's today? April 28th. March 8th was or March 7th was our birthday. Yeah. There you go. Should have sent you a bag as a birthday gift. Yeah. But yeah, so we had a launch party, which was, again, this goes back to being a gritty bootstrap startup. We needed models for our photos and our content. So me and my other partner, Nathan, put our heads together. We're like, what can we do? Well, let's just exploit our friends. We'll give them coffee, and then we're going to take a bunch of photos of them taking coffee. So we had them all dress up in business business casual attire. We gave them all coffee to work on, and we took a bunch of photos, and that was our official launch day on March 7th. And we've been shipping and open for business ever since.
That was a fun day and a fun concept, Warren, to do the launch party and do the photo shoots, because it also gave us a lot of content that was not just stock photos, which was important to us. So certainly, when you're looking at some of the 60s photos and some of the celebrities, etc., obviously it's stock, but we also have in there actual photos of Michael's friends and myself and others, to really kind of resonate that, there is originality to it, and it's not just plugging from the internet.
Since you just started, you probably haven't sold that much coffee yet. Do you have targets of what you're hoping to sell, let's say by the end of the year in 2026? Do you have sort of like targets of what you're aiming for?
Sure. I actually have an exact number for you. I'm hoping that we can acquire over the next 12 months 160 customers. That is my goal. That's what I put it at. I think that would make the most sense for the first year in business. I think it's not too crazy a number, right? We obviously, I wish we had 160,000 customers,
Yeah.
but I think starting small and really getting the small wins under our belt and working towards those bigger goals is the way to go. So that's the plan for this year. And obviously, we're not going to stop if we get 160. We'll keep going.
Right. And that's recurring customers, Warren. So we have a subscription service as well. So realistically, we'd like a base of 160 to start as a minimum at the end of the year for us to call it success.
Okay. And then as you go forward and you want to grow the brand, I see other brands, they'll like pay a celebrity. I mean, you have, these minor songs, like I guess technically I'm a celebrity, right? I've got 90,000 followers on X and 70,000 subscribers on YouTube. Like, does that make me a celebrity? I don't know, but I'm not what you'd be looking for branding, right? You'd want somebody who looks the part, who's wearing the corporate menace logo, who's talking about, how this helps them go to a meeting. Do you see any kind of partnerships like that coming to help build the brand?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And honestly, we actually kind of started right from the get-go. I think one of the big things that you have to account for is launching a brand in 2025. You have to be pretty up to par with all the new marketing channels that are available. So one of the things that we've been doing is we've been partnering with micro influencers. So those influencers who have under 10,000 followers typically. But we want to reach out to real people. I mean, our brand's a real brand, and we're for real people who are trying to succeed. And we're not only a coffee company, we're trying to build a community of like-minded individuals here. So we have a few partnerships out there right now with people who make content about their job, people who make content about their work-life balance. And those are the people that we're going to continue to partner with, in addition to strategic partnerships with other companies like co-working spaces or other brands that align with, our caffeinating, young professionals.
Yeah, actually, I was in a co-working space in Melbourne, Florida, and one of the leaders of the co-working space had started partnering with a new coffee brand. I forget the name of apparently they didn't brand well because I can't remember the name of the coffee, but that was like a thing. And so they had, local coffees and local beers at the co-working space. I could see that making a lot of sense. All right, so I'm running out of time because I have stuff to do for my day, but I have a little bit of time left. What would you want to leave people with about yourselves and about corporate Menace Coffee?
Yeah, I think what we want to leave is, what we kind of throw throughout our website and our Instagram is your coffee should work as hard as you pretend to, right? Let's be honest. We're all about getting out there, and this is what I started with. We're a brand that we don't take ourselves too seriously, but we know what it takes to succeed. And it's being with like-minded individuals, being part of a community, and drinking the right coffee that's going to fuel your day through meetings, creating decks, and getting reports done by the end of the day. So that's what I'm leaving with. Our www.corporatemenace.com is our website. You can find us, Corporate Menace Coffee Co. on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. We got a lot. LinkedIn. We do have a LinkedIn page.
Okay, yeah. So you'll send me links to everything. I'll put them in the YouTube description, and I'll put them in the first reply to the video on X.
Perfect.
I think the other thing, Warren, to think about is community, as Michael said. So we have a link to a community page on our website as well. And it's really about building that community of like-minded folks. So it's not just looking for a customer who's going to come in and buy 1 pound of coffee and disappear. We're looking for that lifestyle, folks who are going to take a ride with us, drink the coffee, but also who buy into the corporate menace lifestyle.
Okay. And I got to ask one last thing. Michael, you did musical theater in high school. My daughter, your friend Abigail, did musical theater in high school and at university. A lot of parents, Matt, are concerned if their kids do musical theater. Well, how's this going to help them get a job? So, Michael, I just wanted to ask you, loosely rated at best to corporate menace, but how do you see your experience in musical theater? And I'm going to say you were awesome when I saw you on stage. How do you see that translating to your corporate life and to this, the corporate menace?
Great question, Warren. Uh, I'm a big advocate for musical theater. I know, some people might have disdain for it. Some people might really love it. But what it really does, and for those schools who want to cut funding to the arts for one reason or the other, I urge against it, because not only is it just for singing and dancing on stage and having a good time, you learn real life skills that you could apply to business and to just your life in general. For off the top of my head, public speaking, you get comfortable speaking in front of a crowd, and you get comfortable in confidence being in front of a large group of people, which is two of the biggest things in business. You also learn how to teamwork, work as a team. In theater, you have 5 to 7 weeks to learn a script, put together a show, and then perform it for a couple hundred people a night. In business, it's very similar. You have projects, you have deadlines, and you need to effectively communicate your objectives to work together as a team to deliver a project on time and on by the deadline. So I think there is a big correlation. While off the surface you might not see musical theater to corporate Menace Coffee Co., I think the subliminal messaging and the themes and such that you learn, the soft skills through doing such, is really how it's intertwined.
All right. Well, I want to thank you guys very much for coming on. I'll publish this in the next few days and I'll let you know. And I really enjoyed that. And so everybody, please check out Corporate Menace Coffee. So I'm going to cut there, and then
Okay.
just want to say thank you guys for coming on. I haven't made a long form video in a while, and then I'm excited to get back into doing it. My life has been a little bit chaotic moving around Thailand.
Well, thank you, Warren. We appreciate it. And I know you and I have a found love for old man fitness. So I know I follow you and your workouts, and I'm sure you see me posting all the time,
Yeah.
etc. I find that was something I got into during COVID, where I was always, working out or whatever, but I really kind of started watching the diet and the exercise and like having a plan. So I see you did the same thing. You're in great shape. You look great.
I'm I'm doing okay. The diet is a challenge. Thai food's good. Thai food's good. And my wife is like very thin, but she just keeps eating, and it's like, here, eat something. Like, stop feeding me.
Warren, the diet's a challenge because I see you posting like, I had a sushi dinner for like $3.80 US dollars, and I know it cost me about $300 when I take the kids out for
Yeah,
sushi.
yeah.
So
No, it's crazy.
I'm jealous of that. I may be partnering you when I retire and meeting you in
All
where the
right.
hell is he? Thailand.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
perfect.
I'm
All right,
gonna
thanks, Warren.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Warren.